Good morning, everybody. I'm Tammy. I'm the Veteran Services Coordinator here at UC Riverside. I want to thank you for participating and coming in today to see this CalTAP presentation. I'm hoping that you get something out of it every time these folks come around. I know I get so much out of it. Just want to welcome you and thank you for participating today. And if you have any questions about UC Riverside, towards the end, I'll put my email in the chat and you can ask me whatever you like. Email me. Okay, thanks.
All right. Thank you, Tammy. Welcome, everybody. Today's April 28th, 2021, and you guys are here for the Accessing California Benefits webinar put on by CalTAP and hosted by UC Riverside. Before we get started, just some quick housekeeping. You guys probably received an email either yesterday or sometime this morning giving you the information for the Zoom meeting. In that email, there was also a couple links that you could check out. A link for the resource book, the Veterans Resource Book, which I'll talk about in a bit. There was a link for a PDF copy of the link map, which Marlene will talk about when she's up. And there was also instructions on how to utilize the chat function here in Zoom. When it comes to the chat and when it comes to questions for the presenters, we're asking that you ask your questions through the chat. There is a CalTAP questions individual that will take those questions and we'll use those for the Q&A panel at the end of the webinar. We got a webinar today that's put on with CalTAP. We have our regional link here to explain what how they help out veterans here in California. And then we also have Kelly Anderson, who's from the CVSO, who's going to talk about how they help out California veterans throughout California. So this is just one of those documents that you did find in the email. This is the instructions on how to utilize the chat function on Zoom. Check it out. If you need help, raise your hand. We could definitely open up the mic if we need to. But for the most part, we like to direct all questions through the chat. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with the CalTAP overview. My name is Michael Cisneros. I'm a CalTAP training coordinator. I've been with CalVet for a little more than a year now. Also a veteran. I separated from the Air Force back in 2007, went back to school in 2008, and we can fast forward to today. I have my master's. I graduated in 2019 with in the summertime, and I utilized my education benefits from the military. So I'm one of those case studies that you can utilize to kind of see how things could work here in California with the help of CalVet. So what is CalTAP? Well, CalTAP is a transition assistance program that's designed to inform and connect veterans of all eras to their earned state and federal benefits, as well as provide continuous support as their needs change over time. And so what we've done in CalTAP is we've developed different pathways that help our veterans navigate those benefits that are available to them. And those pathways are an entrepreneurship pathway, an employment pathway, there's an education pathway, a core curriculum pathway that has the benefits that don't fit into those topics that I just mentioned. And there's also a service provider pathway. We don't really talk about that service provider pathway much, but if you know anybody in your community that wants to work with veterans, feel free to send them to our website to check out that information, just to see what's available for them to meet those goals. These our presentations are usually put on in person. However, with the pandemic going on, we've switched to webinars. We will go back into our in-person events pretty soon, but for right now, this is what we've been doing since last April. The Veterans Resource Book, if this was an in-person webinar, you guys would each have one of these books sitting in front of you right now. However, because we are doing this virtually, this was actually one of the links in your email that you received. And you can also go to our website to download the PDF copy. So that's how we're trying to push this right now. You have to go and download a copy of it, keep it on your phone if you need to, print it out if you want to. I think it's a little over 200 and some pages. That's what you want to do. If you don't want to do that, you could always find the information on our website, and you could actually go through it by item by item to see which benefits you do want to learn more about. You can find out more information about CalTAP on Calvet's website. If you go to calvet.ca.gov and you click on that CalTAP banner right there in the middle of the screen, you're taken to our pathways page, which looks like this. And before we go on to the pathways, I just want to bring your attention to that archive link down there at the bottom. Like I said earlier, we've been doing these webinars since last April. We've done a couple of different webinars focused on different topics like financial literacy, mental health. We've talked about, navigating the stressors of distance learning. We've kind of gone into those different topics that we don't usually touch on our average CalTAP presentation, which focuses on the education, entrepreneurship, and employment pathway. So if you were to click on that archives link, you can find some recordings of those past videos, along with the PDF copies of the PowerPoints. So check it out if you need information, about sorts of plowshares or legal help. We definitely have videos there that from the past with individuals who work for certain organizations in the community that might be able to help you out in the future. So how do you use CalTAP online? For this example, we'll use the core curriculum. If you go to the CalTAP's homepage and you click on one of the pathways like core curriculum, you're taken to a modules page. In the modules page, you can find everything from VA healthcare information, claims and compensation. I believe there's a financial literacy link down there at the bottom. If you just want to know about California benefits, you could always just click on module 5. And when you click on module 5, you're taken to a lessons page. And that lessons page, like I said earlier, it breaks it down by the different benefits. And so you could just click on a link and it will take you to a PDF page that looks like this. So this is talking about our college tuition and fee waiver for our veterans dependents. And I'll touch a little bit more on this in a quick second. So what are those benefits? This information starts on page 13, chapter 1 in your veterans resource book, or you can simply print out the PDF copy on our website. But one of the main benefits that we get questions on is the tuition and fee waiver for veteran dependents. This is a benefit that is for the dependents of veterans with a disability rating between 0 and 100. There's actually 4 different plans for this benefit. There's Plan A, Plan B, Plan C, and Plan D. We see most of our veterans fall into Plan B because this is the plan that requires that 0 to 100 benefit rating. With this plan, they are also looking at your veteran dependents income level, and you could use this benefit all the way up through your doctorates. Now, the reason why this is strictly or specifically for your child dependent is because this gives the veteran an opportunity to actually use their own education benefits, like their GI Bill, or whether they're getting the Montgomery GI Bill or the post 9/11 or Forever GI Bill. The dependent must live in California. The veteran does not have to live in California. And you would get this process started at your county veteran service office. Now, if you have a spouse that wants to use this benefit, there is a possibility that they can utilize this. They would just have to see if you're eligible for Plan A, Plan C, or Plan D. If you are, then you can actually split the benefit between your spouse and your child dependent, or give it to either or. Plan A, the veteran also must be 100% disabled. And for the spouse or the child, 14, I believe that's actually the spouse. There's no age limit. For the child, though, they would have to be between the ages of 14 and 27. And like I said, Plan B, they are looking at the child's income level. I believe the income level is, it has to be under the national poverty line, which is somewhere around 13,000, I believe, or 13 something. But if any of you would like to know the exact number, I'm sure we could research that real quick and put it in the chat. All right. Close this real quick, sorry. So Plan C, this is for any dependents. This plan is for those who served in the California National Guard, or anyone who was in the line of duty while on active service, or who was killed in the line of duty while on active service, or died of a disability from their time in service. And then Plan D is for those who are Medal of Honor recipients, or the children of the Medal of Honor recipients. All right, so we've also partnered with the DMV to make it easier for individuals to identify as a veteran. So now you can actually get that the word veteran printed on your driver's license. It is a $5 fee to get this process started. However, you don't have to pay that $5 again in the future, even if you are renewing your license. Once you have it on, it's there. You could always take it off if you prefer. There's also the Honoring Veterans License Plate Program. This is actually open to everybody in California. You don't necessarily have to be a veteran, but this is where you're driving down the street and you see a license plate that has the Air Force insignia on it, or a Medal of Honor recipient has the Medal of Honor logo on it. That's what this is. All proceeds for this program go to County Veteran Services, Veteran Services across California. So yeah, if you're interested, feel free to check it out on our CalVet webpage for more information. There's also a motor vehicle registration fee waiver. This is for Medal of Honor recipients, American ex-prisoners of war, and individuals who are 100% disabled due to a diagnosis, disease, or disorder which substantially interferes with their mobility. That's important right there, the part that impairs or interferes with their mobility. If you feel like this is something that you may be eligible for, I would definitely recommend reaching out to your county veteran service office, and they could go into more detail about eligibility requirements and also get the process started if that's what you want to do. For those of you who like to be outdoors, we have fishing and hunting licenses at a reduced pass and a state park pass that lets you into state parks for free. Both of these do require a 50% disability rating and an honorable discharge. With the state park pass, you also would have had to serve within a wartime period. If you're interested in any of these, you can go to the California Department of Fish and Wildlife or the California Department of Parks and Recreation to apply. Tax programs. We have tax programs also for our disabled veterans or veterans who want to open up their own business. We don't talk about tax programs too much just because they differ all across California. But if you are interested in any of these programs, we definitely recommend speaking with your local county tax assessor, or going through your city council licensing authority, and they can help you out with the rest of this. The DVBE program, this is for those individuals who do want to open up their own business and want to certify their business as certify their business under the state as a disabled veteran-owned business enterprise. This allows the veterans to compete more competitively. There's a 3% solicitation goal for small businesses and disabled veteran business enterprises or businesses. There's nearly 10 state agency departments have an SB DVB policy first. However, I think that's actually changed. I think we actually just heard yesterday that most of the state agencies have this policy right now. If not all, I believe it's more than 10 now. But your company is also going to be advertised on Cal eProcure, and you get to take part in the reciprocity program. Home loans. We have a CalVet home loan program. This is different than the federal VA home loan program. Our CalVet home loan program provides financing for veterans, competitive market interest rates, low or no down payment requirements. The veteran does also have to reside in that home. For more information about this, let me see, there is another slide. For those, this is used for most veterans are eligible for the CalVet home loan. You must serve active duty for a minimum of 90 days. No prior residency requirements. So you could have joined from New York or Florida, and if you want to settle down here in California, That's not an issue at all. There's superior insurance products. This is something that our home loans guru, Brad Pedersen, he usually does these webinars with us. He loves talking about the insurance products that are available to our California veterans. Low deductible, full replacement fire hazard, earthquake, and flood insurance. He talks about that a lot, especially with the fires that went on last year. Talks about how well the veterans made out with this insurance product. Guarantees the home will be rebuilt in full with material of like kind and quality. For more information about the home loans program, we could definitely put Brad's information into the chat. If you're in the market or you just want to chat to see what's available or what he has to say, I would definitely recommend reaching out to him and give him a call. He loves working with veterans. It's not an issue at all to call him out of the blue. He'll definitely set some time aside to work with you. Now, for our women veterans, we have a program that provides information, advocacy, outreach, and support. This program also is partnered with the Veterans Leadership Council just to provide more opportunities for our women veterans. You can go to their webpage at calvet.ca.gov under the Women's Veterans webpage, and you can email them to sign up for their roster, just so that you could be aware of more of the outreach opportunities coming up in the future. And we have another program that offers the same advocacy, outreach, and support for our minority veterans. This program also helps unnaturalized veterans in California with citizenship and naturalization services. So for more information about them, I would definitely recommend going to the Minority and Underrepresented Veterans webpage at calvet.ca.gov. You could also email them to find out more about what's going on in the community and what they're doing. All right, homes for long-term care. Most of you guys probably aren't thinking about this right now. However, if you do have anybody in your community or have a family member that is a veteran that needs this kind of care, there are 8 different homes for long-term care here in California, all the way from Chula Vista down south to Redding up north. These provide long-term care for veterans offering medical, dental, pharmacy, rehabilitation, and social activities. There's different levels of care. Each house will offer something different for the veterans. Levels of care like independent living, intermediate nursing care, memory care, outpatient clinic, residential care, assisted living, and skilled nursing care. State cemeteries, another thing that you're probably not interested or worried about right now, but there are 3 different veteran cemeteries here in California. There's one in Seaside, California, which is right outside of Monterey, another one in Redding, and then Yountville Veterans Home Cemetery, which is right outside of Napa. Now for the Yountville Veteran Home Cemetery, you do have to be a resident at the Yountville home to be buried there. So if that's not the situation, then you do have the other 2 to look into. There is a 4th cemetery in the works right now. I'm not sure how far along they are with it or if they even started building it, but that 4th cemetery is going to be somewhere in Southern California. So just be on the lookout for that if this is something that you're interested in right now. All right, now before I go, I just want to bring your attention to some common websites that we think you should be familiar with as a veteran. The first one is va.gov. This is going to be, I consider this website kind of like a hub for veterans. So if you're interested in disability compensation or education benefits, or you want to take advantage of the healthcare system, the VA healthcare system, or even just check out your records, you go to this website and it will direct you to where you need to go to get that information or get that process started. Another one is e-benefits. This is a pretty cool one if you are taking advantage of things like education benefits or disability compensation. When I was a student, I was logging onto this website constantly throughout the semester. This is where I would go to see if they've certified my classes, to see if they've cut a check for my classes, to see if they're sending out my BAH and how much I'm getting paid. So this is where you could find that kind of information. And then finally, My Healthy Vet. This is for those who are going to take advantage of the VA healthcare system. This is a cool website that allows you to communicate with your primary care physician, create appointments with them, view your health records, and also refill prescriptions. All right. So that was a quick overview of what CalTAP's all about and some of the benefits that are available to you. I would definitely recommend looking at that resource book to find out more. There's a ton out there for veterans, a ton that most people don't understand it is available to them. If you have any questions about what I talked about today, feel free to reach out to me. That's my email address right there. Or if you just want to talk about my experiences, we could also do that too. But thanks for listening, and I'm going to go ahead and pass it on to Marlene Steinbach. She is our local interagency network coordinator with CalVet, and she's going to explain how she assists veterans in California within her region. So go ahead, Marlene.
Thank you, Michael. So my name is Marlene Steinbach, and I'm the local interagency network coordinator for CalVet for the following regions. Go ahead and switch to the next slide. I want to talk a little bit about that. I am in Yomono, Riverside, and San Bernardino counties. I'm that big red area there if you look at that map. And as you can tell, California was really smart. What they did was it was so incredible. They split our regions into 8 different regions, and you can see here by the color coordination on the map. Why am I so excited about that? Well, each area of California has different distinct and unique needs. And as you can tell, what is going on in San Diego is going to be completely different than what's going on in Northern California. Their needs are different. Northern California is going to be more farm, especially in Central California, it's going to be more farm communities, whereas you got more beach communities and different things, more tropical down in the end of it. I mean, look how big and vast California is. Just the geographical locations are completely different, and the needs of each person there are completely different. You're going to have more homeless in San Diego than you're going to have in Northern California, just simply based on the weather. So as you can tell, everyone here has very specific, unique needs in their districts. Central California with the, if you take a look at the farming communities and Central Coast and San Francisco and LA is an enormous business hub, and Orange County as well. They have intricacies, but it's very compact. So Orange County only has one county. However, there's a lot of veterans that retire into Orange County. They come up from San Diego. They come out from LA and from March Air Reserve Base and from the 3 bases in my district, and they want to retire in Orange County because it's beautiful there. Well, they're retired, they have elderly needs. So as you can tell, the age demographics and various different things are going to be different. In my region specifically, we have some homelessness issues, of course. We also have employment issues. We have transportation is very difficult. It's more of a larger geographical location. So I have a lot of different resources for different things. You may buy a house with here, say we have Brad come in and tell you how to buy the house, but now you're walking into an empty house and you didn't have anything, you were homeless before. Okay, well, we've solved one, but what about the furniture? Well, there's something called Heroes Warehouse that comes in and fills the house with furniture for you. So it really depends on what the needs are. I have a vast network of different people in my next slide. In my jurisdiction, everybody does. Every link does that very, very well. And what we do is we provide outreach to service members and veterans and their families. We make referrals to the service providers that I just talked about, like Heroes Warehouse, or directly on with the clinic, or with the vet center, or whatever crisis that the veteran is experiencing, whether it's good, whether it's bad. We do cradle to grave, and we provide leadership to the local communities, and we assist with local emergencies. Remember those fires we had in Central California recently? I went up and I helped assist my Central California counterpart in October and help with the LAC out there. Next slide. So you'll find us at so many different locations, at events, at webinars. We're answering phones. We are boots on the ground in our jurisdictions. We're all very good. We have contacts at EDD. We have contacts at the state, the county, federally. We have regional contacts. We have federal contacts. So, I mean, all the way to Washington, D.C., you'll find that we're a very great resource for us to get you into contact with something. If you have a simple question, if you want a direction, if you want a warm handoff. I've actually sat with a crying veteran at a mental health crisis at the clinic. So it just depends on what's going on. I've helped families, the VA medical centers and the vet centers. We have contacts everywhere. So next slide. This is my information. So if you missed the contact, you're like, yeah, well, she's great for this resource, but I have a friend who needs help and he's in a different area. I can connect you with your link in that area, and they all have the same exact types of resources that I'm talking about. But yeah, keep that contact information. And thank you so much for having me today.
All right. Thank you, Marlene. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and pass it on to Kelly Anderson. Kelly Anderson is with the Riverside County Veteran Service Office. And he's going to explain how they work with veterans, not just in Riverside, but all across California. So go ahead, Kelly, when you get a chance.
Outstanding. Good morning, all. As you said, I'm Kelly Anderson. I work for the VSO out here in Riverside. If you take anything away from this conversation or this teleconference at all, I would say that the big thing was I'm going to send my email that points directly to my Outlook email. If you have questions or concerns, send it to me. I will send it out to one of my staff and I'll get somebody assigned to you and they'll take care of you. Every single one of our veterans representatives is a veteran themselves. They also have at least a 4-year degree. Some of them have masters as well. They're outstanding individuals and I'm proud of each and every one of them. Go ahead and next slide. Okay, so a lot of the benefits that Michael and Marlene went over, we essentially are kind of the one-stop shop. We cover federal, state, local benefits to include county and city as well. If you have any questions or concerns, you want to know what your benefits are, I would strongly encourage you to come to our office, make an appointment, come and see a veterans representative. They'll talk to you, try to figure out what you did, where you are, and where you need to go. They will then determine what paperwork needs to be filled out, tell you exactly kind of the pathway towards that particular benefit, explain to you what it is you need to gather up, come back, turn in. If we can't do it here, we'll point you to Marlene or one of our other sister agencies or departments and make sure that you get the service that you need. Go ahead, next slide. All right, the VA itself, VA Federal is broken down into 3 components: Veterans Health, Veterans Benefit, and National Cemetery. The main one that most vets deal with are veterans benefits. So the compensation, education, and training, all of the benefits that Michael went over, those are probably the main ones. The large proportion of benefits that we handle are compensation and pension, which is basically a financial based needs benefit for those that are older that need assistance at home. The other is compensation. We help with determining what it is we can do with the particular medical records you have. Take a look at that, see if there were any incidences or exposures to particular conditions that may have caused a current disability. We'll explain to you what it is we need for you to become successful. So you'll get that information, bring it to us, or we'll try to find it ourselves. We do a lot of education as well. I'm sure Tammy can cover that very well, but we do offer assistance with applying for educational benefits. Next slide. So we do provide veterans dependents free benefit information, assistance, and counseling. I like to say we're essentially advocates for the veteran and the family members of veterans. We do not have a geographic area that we necessarily say we cover. We like to say we cover everybody. I've got veterans out in Philippines, Japan, Europe. We just don't have a geographic distinctive area. We say we cover all, but the main area is the Inland Empire. We did bring in, it does say brought in approximately 457 million new or increased federal benefits. Our particular office has brought in roughly 35 million last year additional, but every year those compound. So we're at like 850 right now. So 850, near $1 billion in benefits to the local community. Go ahead, next slide. Comprehensive benefits counseling, again, advocacy. We cover claims and compensation, pension. We do help with records requests, discharge upgrades. We get that question a lot. We oftentimes will help out with that, but we will also point you to one of the greatest agencies that deals with that is Swords to Plowshares. If you want information about that, I can either send you out our packet to explain what the steps are and what you need to gather for a discharge upgrade, and or give you a referral to Swords and Plowshares. They're a nonprofit. They generally help the homeless in the San Francisco Bay Area, but we have been successful in having them assist veterans from our region as well. Next slide. I should mention from that last slide, the only place you can go back one, I'm sorry about that. The only place you can get the veterans designation is at your local VSO. So if you want to have that veterans designation on your driver's license, you actually have to come to our office with your DD-214. We fill out the paperwork, and then you go to the Department of Motor Vehicles, pay the $5, and within 4 to 6 weeks, you should have your new license with veteran on it. The college fee waiver, also, we're the only ones that handle that particular paperwork. I personally sign off on every single one that we receive, making sure that it's correct, and we try to get them out within 10 business days. If you don't receive it and you want to know where it is, I'm going to again put my email in there, and I'll make sure that you get it. Next slide. Service-connected disability. This kind of is a rough idea. Any condition, injury, or disease caused by, aggravated by, first diagnosed during military. Now, there is a way, if it wasn't first diagnosed during the military, we can actually do what's called get a nexus statement from a doctor. The doctor says, okay, well, this appears to me, this particular condition appears to me to have begun in service. That is something we can utilize as a tool as well to in order to get you compensation. And it says, as long as it's a chronic in nature or has residuals, it can flare. It could be one of those conditions that flares up from time to time during the year, at least 2 to 3 times a year. That can be utilized as well as a tool to ensure compensation is granted. Next slide. So I'm trying to go through this quickly. There's several slides. What is required for service connection? It's incumbent upon the veteran to substantiate. Okay, so essentially what has to happen, you have to have an event or condition that occurred in service. That event condition has to have been, you have to have a current diagnosed disability due to that event or condition. Then upon receiving that, and that has to be, the diagnosis has to come from a doctor. If I generally say, try to do this within, if you're still in the reserves at the time, try to get it on the books with the current doctors that you're with. If you're out, you just got out within the last year and it's under a year, come see us right away, because it's presumptive based upon your having just left the service within a year. If it's after a year, there's a couple extra steps. It does say the Nexus link down there. That Nexus link would essentially be a doctor's note saying that the doctor believes it's at least likely than not that the condition was caused or incurred during service. Because compensation claims can be fairly difficult, and there's several steps and processes to become successful, I do highly encourage you to come to our office so we can guide you through those steps. Next slide. How do we do it? Okay, so the first part of the puzzle, bringing your DD-214, we sit down with you. We'll file with 2 pieces of paper. One's an intent to file. Essentially, that's kind of planting the flag in the ground, telling the VA you're currently trying to establish a compensation claim. You have 1 year to finalize that claim. Generally speaking, it doesn't take that long. Normally, you go out, you get your medical information, bring that in your current diagnosed condition. We'd send that in, and within about 2 to 3 months, they're getting really quick. You'll receive an acknowledgement, either an award or a non-award. If you get a non-award, and if you currently have one and it's been less than a year, I would encourage you to come into our office and put in an appeal as well. So you're going to get your service record. That's important. Although the VA is required to get it, I always encourage every veteran to get it for themselves. That way, when you submit it, that will probably make the process go a lot quicker. They will then, after you actually submit the claim itself with medical records and all the information, you'll receive an appointment to go see a doctor, and it could be multiple doctors depending on the number of conditions you put in for, to go to a C&P exam, comp and pen exam. And upon going to that exam, the doctor will find out if, or they believe it's at least likely not related to your service. They'll put in their decision. That usually takes less than a few weeks, and then you're going to receive your decision. Next slide. I'm not going to go too much into discharge upgrades. You can see down there, swords to plowshare, they're outstanding. I would always encourage you to contact them. Do come to our office though. We do help collecting the supporting documents. We do have kind of a step-by-step that I've created myself. I can get that to you as well, of what it is that you really need to do in order to become successful. I believe the success rate is right around 10%. It's very important that you submit all the documents and everything. Everything you're going to need to be successful right off the bat in one shot, because you get one shot, one kill on it. There's really no appeals to those. And so it's really important you do it correctly the first time. I also encourage veterans that it may not be a bad idea to contact an attorney that, if you have the additional monies, an attorney that will assist you with gathering that information and putting in it to a comprehensive claim. Next slide. Okay, how do I find my CVSO? I do know there's a couple ways. The one, probably the easiest way, is to essentially go on the CalVet website. They do have a listing of every single county on there and their contact information. For your local VSOs, there's essentially two really in this area. That's San Bernardino Veterans Affairs. That's our sister department with San Bernardino. And then there's our office, Riverside County Department of Veteran Services. Next slide. This is essentially, I think, CalVet's website that links you all to their different services. Next slide. And that's it right there. That's essentially the web page that takes you to, if you live in another area and you want to utilize their services, say you live in the Bay Area, you can put in your zip code and find your local VSO that way. Next slide. And next slide. There you go. So that's my contact information, but I'm also going to give you another link, another email as well. That I check every day. Let me send that to you right now. And thank you for your time. I appreciate it. And if you have any questions, again, send it to my email and I'll take care of it right away.
All right. Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. All right. So now we're going to move on to the questions and answers portion of the webinar. I'm going to introduce you to Danny, who's going to read off some of those questions that came through. This is all of our contact information, along with, I believe Kelly just put another email address in the chat. So if you guys have any questions that we don't get to today, feel free to contact us this way, and we could definitely try to answer those. But go ahead, Danny, if we have any questions.
Morning, everybody. We actually didn't have any questions come in. I did just send everyone's information in the chat again. So if you want to just go ahead to the next slide, we'll wait and see if any more come in while you're going over the next portion.
All right. So it sounds like we did our job pretty well. So I'm going to go ahead and move on. This slide right here shows some upcoming webinars for the month of May. If you take a look at, actually, I don't think, yeah, if you take a look at, let's see, like the May 6th or the May 12th, we are hosting those, actually May 5th, also May 6th. We're all hosting those with either community colleges or UC Riverside. You don't have to be a student at those colleges to attend those. If you do want to find out more about claims and compensation or legal services, you could simply just go to our Eventbrite page and register that way. They don't check student ID numbers, and they're not going to force you out if you're not a student at that campus. So definitely check it out if you get the chance. One more time, no questions that came through, right, Danny? Or actually, I see somebody raise their hand.
Just 1 second, let me get you unmuted. All right, go ahead. You should have received a thing. There you go. Perfect.
I did. Sorry, I tried to put a thing in the chat and it said disabled, so I must have done something wrong. I don't know what I did. Something, clearly. So I had 2 questions. If there's any way you guys can go over a little bit more of the college fee waiver, Plan B. I think that's the one my child would qualify for. And then the other thing, if you had any suggestions on helping older vets, that would be helpful as well.
Yeah, I could talk a little bit more about the college fee waiver. Let's see, what did I not say about it? It's pretty. I mean, you could use it for as many kids as you have. It goes all the way up to your doctorates. However, when it comes to that, you have to remember that if a student, a dependent, let's see, receives their bachelor's degree, and is working at a job and is getting paid, pretty well, and they want to go and get their master's or a PhD, they can use that benefit. However, they just have to, or actually, let me take that back. They might not be able to use that benefit only because their income level. So that's the only thing that really stops a child dependent from actually utilizing this benefit is the income. And so if the child got their bachelor's and isn't finding suitable work or doesn't have a job and their income level is underneath that poverty line, then yes, they can utilize the benefit as long as the veteran does have that disability rating between 0 and 100. So those are the only 2 stipulations that I know of. Unless Danny, you could think of anything else. Those are the only 2 stipulations that I know will.
If they don't, like my youngest, he doesn't have a job yet, so he doesn't have a tax return. What do we do about that?
You know what? Maybe Kelly, since you actually work with the process, what would happen in that situation? Do you know?
So yeah, we have the veteran or the family member go to either the franchise tax board or the IRS and ask for a statement of non-filing. And essentially what they do, it sounds strange, but they'll actually issue a statement saying that the student hasn't filed taxes. I don't know why they require that, but that's one of the requirements. So that should cover that. And Michael's right. 13.5 is it's like 13,460 or something. I can't remember the exact amount is the cap, but do remember it's the adjusted gross income. So obviously there's ways to reduce the overall, like if they make more than that. But I always tell everybody, go to your tax guy or gal and talk to them and see what are the ways that you can lower that amount in order to become eligible for the benefit. It's an outstanding benefit, and generally speaking, the vast majority of young people are able to utilize it because they don't make that much. Do remember it is always for the year preceding, with regard to the taxes, it's always the year preceding the year they're going to go to school. So if it were, say, they were going to go to the 2020, 21, it would have been 2019 taxes that they're looking for. Any other questions on that? There's a lot of little things in there, but those are Michael hit the main ones.
I think another thing I want to explain about it too is that the veteran does not have to be a California resident, but the student does, and the school is going to be the one who determines residency. Usually the student has to be living in California for a year and 1 day prior to the start of the semester. So the student is going to be have to have the documentation to prove that to the school. However, the veteran can be living in a different state if they want to send their child to school here in California. So that's another thing about the residency requirements that might kind of throw people off if they're not expecting that. And then you asked about services for elder veterans. Is there anything specifically you could think of, or are you just in general? Are you asking?
Oops.
Maybe she can't unmute herself. Oh, I'm sorry. 1 second. You're mute. Let me ask you to unmute real quick.
Oh, there we go. Sorry.
There we go.
Thank you
Yeah.
for the other stuff. I'm trying to figure it out because it's just a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm really asking because my in-laws are obviously older and my father-in-law served, and I know he goes to the VA for medical care, but they're kind of getting to the point where they might need more help.
I got that.
And I didn't know if there's like, you
Yeah.
know, home
Mhm.
cleaning services or food delivery, like just more basic, you know.
Yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
unfortunately live right next to us, so I, you know, we're a little more limited on our help we can provide day to day, I guess.
Right. Right.
Well,
Yeah.
I could go over quickly, briefly, pension aid and attendance. That's probably the big one, and Michael probably thought of that one as well.
Yeah.
Other than the California Veterans Homes, which I'll let you talk about. We utilize, we fill out the paperwork for that as well. But pension aid and attendance is a financial based needs benefit. And essentially it's for those that are elderly that need assistance, financial assistance to pay for their, let's say they want to go into assisted living. For a couple, it's generally up. Now I'll go over the requirements here briefly, but for a couple, it's up to $2,200 a month. And for a single veteran, it's a little over $1,800 a month now. It's pretty good. There are two major hurdles. One is the asset side of the house. So excluding their primary residence and one car, they can't have more than $125,000 in assets. So if they have a business or a rental or some other stocks, bonds, mutual funds, something like that, in excess of that amount, what I always tell families is I say, look, liquidate that. There's a 3-year look back, so you have to be really careful with what you do with those monies, but spend those for, spend down to about 125, right? Or maybe you pay down their mortgage. You could do that as well. Let's say you liquidate stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, and then refinance. There's many different ways that you can, skin this cat. So that's why I ask everybody, and this one, it's a little bit more difficult, a little more trickier to obtain that benefit, to come in our office and we'll kind of guide you through that process. But the asset max is 125, excluding primary residence and one car. There is an income based, because it's income based, the income cap it's kind of a floating cap. It's based upon the cost of the care. So you essentially take their income minus the cost of their care. Medical care can include prescriptions if they had to buy a wheelchair or anything related to medical, to include dental. You take that off their monthly income, and then that determines whether or not they're going to be able to be successful in obtaining the benefit. There are ways to essentially decrease that amount. Since it's dollar for dollar, you want to try to get their income equaling the amount that they're paying for medical, because then you get the max benefit. Again, it's a little bit hard. The paperwork is very deep and detailed. So you do want to have an advocate go through that process. There are folks out there that try to charge. It's technically illegal, charge to help you fill out the paperwork, and can be up to a few $1,000s. Do not go to those folks. I strongly encourage against it, because they have an incentive to not have it go through the first time. I won't go into details, but essentially you could be losing money and time, and the process is free here. We're a government agency. We do not charge.
Okay. And so it's pension aid and attendance?
Correct.
Okay. And that is so they can still live in their main home or their primary residence, or not so much?
They can, absolutely. It'll be based upon their monthly income minus the cost of that care to come in. You generally speaking, it's $20 to $25 an hour to have somebody come and assist There are what they call, one of the other requirements is ADLs, assisted activities, daily living. Essentially, if they need assistance feeding themselves, going to the restroom, that sort of thing, they have to have at least usually 1 or 2 of those. There's 6 of them in total. Again, that would be something we want to sit down and talk to an advocate. They'll have a doctor fill out paperwork essentially stating that they have at least 1 of these things.
Okay. So it can help them stay in their home, but offset some of the care costs.
Absolutely, up to $2,200 a month. It's actually it's a great benefit.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's what he just said is probably the best way to go is just go with your CDSO. There's also, if you check out your Veterans Resource Book, so the PDF that was sent in the email that you received either yesterday or today, on page 81, it talks about caregiver programs and services that are offered through CalVet. There is a home-based primary care program. There's homemaker and home health aid program that might be available. And then another thing, there is also a PDF of the link map. I would definitely recommend reaching out to your regional link because they may know of outside services, or nonprofit organizations that are meant to help veterans in situations like your father. So I would definitely recommend checking out the resource book, page 81, and then talking with your link, your local interagency network coordinator.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Alex, I'm going to go ahead and take you off of mute. If you still had a question, feel free to ask it.
Yes, sir. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Mr. Cisneros, you spoke about the dates, upcoming dates. The one in May for claims and appeals, is that going to be a webinar or is that going to be at the college where you can sit down?
I'm sorry, say it one more time. Which one in May?
The 5 claims and appeals.
Yeah.
Is that going to be a webinar or is it going to be at the college?
That's going to be a webinar. Yeah, it's going to be a webinar just like this. Shasta College is the one who's putting up the webinar for the student veterans there on campus. But like I said, anybody could register for these webinars and check them out. So yeah, if you go to our Eventbrite page, I believe it's caltap.eventbrite.com. You can find the registration page for that webinar and you can sign up right there. Once you sign up, it'll just be like this one. You'll get all that information, the Zoom link, and information about the webinar once the confirmation goes through.
Okay. Also, Mr. Anderson spoke about the Nexus letter that they would assist you in providing or obtaining the Nexus letter from a doctor. Is that would they provide like a general letter that the doctor would complete and sign, or how does that work?
That's a great question. Yeah. Generally speaking, we'll sit there and explain to you what it is we're looking for as far as verbiage. Probably the best verbiage that I can give is essentially that the diagnosed condition, at least likely than not, either began or was incurred due to service. That is probably the best verbiage you can have. Now, usually you'd want to couple that with the doctor saying, based upon my knowledge and training, and explain the reason why he believes it's service connected. So it can be quite a detailed letter. So the short answer is yes, we do help you kind of wordsmith the letter that you can show your doctor, and then the doctor can then either he can either write it directly into your records, which a lot of doctors prefer because they don't want to have to take the time out to put it on their letterhead. They're very busy people, and I understand that. And oftentimes they'll give it to their RN that's on duty and say, hey, wordsmith this, put it into his medical records. Then you can have the front desk put it on print it out for you, and you just bring it right in, and then we submit that. Does that help?
Yes, it does, because I was gonna, I approached my personal doctor, and he did tell me that it was a lengthy process, and it was, the VA requires a lot, and he was unsure of what they wanted on the letter. So that's why I kind of wanted some assistance with that. And then when I approached my VA doctor, they keep telling me it's a conflict of interest, so they can't run.
That's right. Yeah. Send me an email. I'll make sure I assign somebody to you, and I'll explain that what it is you're specifically looking for. They can also help you with the rest of the process and any other questions you have. I do make sure that I assign everybody specifically to one vet rep, and I hope that they give you the best service we can give you.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson, for your time.
Thanks, Oz, for that question.
I did have some questions in the chat. I do want to apologize to everybody. The chat was set to not be allowed for you guys to chat. So it is fixed now. So if you have any questions, I do have some coming in. You will be able to go ahead and chat with me. So I'm going to start reading off some of the ones that I haven't answered directly. So one question I have is, if you are filing for service-connected disability after reaching 100% permanent and unemployable, do you still need to continue filing for new surgeries, etc.?
The short answer is yes. And the reason I say that is there's three tickets essentially. There's the bronze, silver, gold. Bronze is individual unemployability, and then silver is 100%, and then gold is 100% permanent and total. Permanent total is really the end game. We always say for veterans, we want to make sure we get to that if we can. Of course, if they're entitled to it. What that means is there's no longer any kind of further medical appointments or anything else you need, and you get absolutely every single benefit, max benefit that you can get, with the exception of, and here's the other reason why you want to apply. There are additional additional monies that can be assigned to that. So it can go up to, I can't remember the max, but up to $8,500 a month. I mean, 100% permanent totals roughly between $3,000 and $3,500, but there are also other dollar amounts that can be assigned every single month for specific conditions. So I say just continue doing it. I wouldn't stop, especially if it's something you believe is service connected. You rightfully deserve to be compensated for that. So yes.
Next question. Do you have any more information on the new presumptive illnesses due to Agent Orange?
Oh, that's a great question. Okay. Yes, they're obviously constantly changing. The most recent one that we're really excited about was in January. I think it was, January, I want to say. Navy personnel. One of the big things that we've had a problem with and just is heartbreaking is a lot of the Navy personnel during Vietnam were exposed to Agent Orange, but they had difficulty proving that they were boots on the ground because clearly they were in a ship offshore. Well, the truth of the matter is all that Agent Orange materials went into the ocean, and Navy ships used to use filtration systems for their water. The Navy personnel would drink that, and then later, 20, 30 years later, they started having issues and problems with Agent Orange conditions like diabetes and heart problems and cancers and such. And they were not they were not service connected for that because they weren't on the ground. Well, they just passed a ruling saying up to 13 nautical miles. If we can prove that you were on a ship up to 13 nautical miles, if you have a service connected condition that we can link to Agent Orange, which is not that hard to do, it's presumptive, it's very easy to do, and you were within 13 nautical miles and we can prove it, you'd now become service connected for that and reap and receive all of the benefits associated with that. So this is constantly changing. They're adding new conditions on to include, there's others with regard to Camp Lejeune, Marines and Navy personnel and their families serving between certain years at Camp Lejeune. There was problems with the water there as well, and there are folks having health conditions and issues due to that. The burn pits in Iraq and Afghanistan, people are having health issues with that. So there's new stuff coming up all the time. That's why you want to check in. I always say check in once a year ask questions about, hey, has this come up? Has this become an issue? You want to do it every year, because if you put a letter of intent in, it's good for a year. Put in the letter of intent, something comes in, you ask, it turns out that yes, in fact, that service-connected condition is now eligible for compensation. We can put in, explain to you how to go through the process and hopefully make you successful. If they deny you, we also like to do a follow-up and see if we can't get that appealed, because oftentimes, many times, we write up an appeal and it becomes successful. That gets sent out to Washington, and Washington has attorneys look it over, and if it meets the federal rules and regulations and the conditions list, then it can be approved, and the monies would then go back to the original date of the intent letter that you sent in. Which can be quite significant. You know, we've seen several for hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I always encourage every veteran and family member to check in with us maybe once a year.
Thank you, Kelly. Can you talk more about the fee waiver and kind of the application process and the deadlines associated with that?
Yes, probably the best thing we actually have, if you go to our website, and I'll post it on here in a minute. If you go to our website, the best thing you do is there's a link that actually says California fee waiver. You go to that link, it kind of gives you a basic explanation, but if you go in there, there's a PDF, and that PDF really is very detailed, touches everything, and should answer every question. If you have any other questions after that, shoot me an email, and I'll make sure you're contacted by a staff member. Or if I can't answer it, I'll make sure that somebody gets back to you.
So we have a few more. I'm just trying to scroll through to make sure I'm getting everyone's questions directly. Give me 1 second.
While you do that, I'm going to go ahead and answer Renee and David have their hands raised. So while you get that situated, I'm going to unmute Renee so that she could ask her question.
Okay.
Hi there. So I do have a few questions. I don't know which ones you guys might be able to answer. So I'll start out with the CalVet loan. I do have a home that I purchased with just the VA loan. Would I be able to qualify for a CalVet home as well?
And please, David, or I'm sorry, Kelly or Danny, if you know a little bit more than I do about this, I believe you actually can utilize both loans at the same time and qualify for both loans at the same time.
Yeah. If you're looking to use it as a secondary home, no, you have to take possession of the home that you're utilizing with the CalVet home loan, I believe within 90 days. So the CalVet home loan cannot be used for the purchase of a second home. That does have to be your primary home.
So what if it's, I'm sorry to cut you off, but what if it's a purchase for my daughter to live in while she's away at college?
No, you have to take possession. So it's not something that you can utilize for a purchase of a dependent. It has to be your home, your primary residence.
One home at a time.
Yeah.
That's the max. One home at a time.
Okay. Then the second question I have is, are there any reciprocatory benefits, say in Arizona or Washington? Because my daughter's looking at going into medical school in Washington. We just sent her to 2 years in Arizona, and it was a $61K a year tuition. So that was not fun having to pay. We didn't realize till later on that there is something in Arizona, but it's just super time consuming, and she just had to go to college. So we're trying to prep for her medical school in Washington. Anything similar to like tuition reduction or in-state tuition kind of charges versus an out-of-state fee that they charge on top of tuition?
Now on that one, I would strongly encourage you to go to, there's a website that most veteran service representatives, they become accredited through two main ones, California Department, or CDVA, which is CalVet, which is who Michael works for, or the National Association of Veteran Service Officer. Now that is NACVSO. In fact, I'll just type in here, NACVSO, and on there, on their website, they have find accredited VSR and you type in the zip code for the area, and essentially it'll pop up with a list of the VSRs. The VSRs that are accredited through the national NACVSO are probably usually the best. That's the highest accreditation you can get. I always encourage folks to go there. The folks that work in Washington are going to be the ones you're going to want to talk to, because they're not only going to know their state benefits, but they're going to know the county benefits and any city benefits that are available to either family members or the veteran. So any out of state, I would go with NACVSO. That's the best way to really filter out between those that understand the process and maybe those that are more green, essentially, because it does take, it takes well over a week to go through that program. And then later on, you have to apply for accreditation, and it's a time consuming process. So many don't go through it, and those that do typically understand the system and the process much better.
Wonderful. And then if I may, my last one is assistance with filing for a caregiver. I am an end-stage kidney failure. I've been disabled for quite some time. I just started dialysis 3 years ago. I have to be with my husband 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We did try to apply for that probably 2 years ago when I first started dialysis, and we were denied. I mean, he bathes me, he clothes me, he does everything for me. On the other flip side, my brother-in-law, who's the one who suggested we apply for this, he got 100% from the VA for like toe fungus and a broken toe. And he also has a caregiver, and he just found it very shocking that I didn't qualify for one when he says I clearly do need one.
That is a great question, because I get that a lot. I hear it's interesting because I see this all the time. I'll have two clients completely separate, and they'll get completely different percentages. And I'm not saying that there's no rhyme or reason, but oftentimes it just seems a little bit unfair. So you're not the first person I've heard say that. That being said, I always say continue, just move forward, come to our office, we'll write up the appeal and see if we can't get you that benefit. It's unfortunate, but oftentimes people are denied that particular benefit. You just have to be persistent and dogged and keep moving forward.
Great. In San Diego, where would that office be that I need to go to?
San Diego has their own office. They're a great set of folks. A lot of Marines work down there, so good folks down there. That is San Diego County. Oh gosh, what's their name? Veteran. I'll put it in the link right now. Very good office. They're like a lot of VSOs are a little bit understaffed, so it might take them a bit to get an appointment, but they're outstanding individuals. I know them pretty well.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
And just to piggyback off that, you could actually go to any CVSO or veteran service office that's closest to you. So if you go to calvet.ca.gov, at the top of the screen, you'll find a link that says find a service provider. And if you click on that, you can actually just type in your zip code, and we'll bring up a list of CVSOs that are closest to you based off of the distance. So, San Diego does have a really good office, but, the closest one to you is like, I don't know, Chula Vista or Oceanside. Then it might be a little bit far. So
they actually have, the San Diego County has their offices there as well. I think they have one in Oceanside. Yeah, they have like 6 or 8 offices.
Yeah. So we are about 10 minutes over right now. We have enough time for a couple more questions. Apologize if we haven't gotten to your question yet, but like I said, this is let me go back to this slide, our email addresses and our contact information. So if we don't get to your question today, please feel free to email us, and we'll definitely answer those questions.
There are actually several questions in the chat that are very specific, like people asking about their specific condition. Please email Kelly directly. He's more, obviously, I know it's great to have someone one-on-one to be able to ask these questions too, but please go ahead and email him those, because we don't want to give out anyone's too much personal information, too many personal details. So if you are still having those questions, like the ones that have come in the chat that we haven't addressed yet, and they're very specific to your condition, to your situation, please go ahead and contact Kelly directly. So there is a question here that's more general. So I'm gonna go ahead and ask that one. After a claim is denied, is it possible to get at least a 0% rating?
Absolutely. It is possible through the appeals process. It's a very long process. And it takes a very seasoned vet rep to do it, to write it up for you. That's why I always say, look, come to our office, make an appointment. The process it used to take anywhere from 3 to 15 years. I mean, it was really bad. They've really tightened it up, and it's down to, usually we can do it in 6 to 12 months, but on the outside, 2 years maybe. So you have to be patient. The good news is, if you are successful, they have to go back to that date when you first apply. It's always the first day of the next month. So if you applied in the middle of February, it'd be March 1. But then you get all the retroactive amounts. But can you get 0? Yes, you can get more than 0, potentially, based upon what the condition is. Typically 0% is you, let's say, for example, you have a scar, and we can prove that it occurred during service. Then you would be obviously eligible for the California fee waiver. I think that we get that quite a bit. People asking, hey, can I get 0%? And that's one. Another great one is tinnitus. As we know, and as veterans, you're exposed to a lot of noise, and that can cause tinnitus. And tinnitus is rated at 10%. You would be entitled to all the benefits that somebody at 10% would receive, to include the California fee waiver. If you're in the belly of a ship, lots of machinery there. You're on an aircraft carrier, lots of obviously louds there. If you're in the Marine Corps or Army and you're exposed to something, your remote T or whatever, you're infantry like myself, you're exposed to guns. Obviously, if you go through boot camp, you're going to be exposed to gunfire and explosions. You're throwing hand grenades and all that. So yeah, it's absolutely possible. It just takes time.
So there's a few questions about the CalVet home loans. So you are able to combine the home loans the VA home loan guarantee, and also be financed through CalVet home loans program. There are some questions in regards to your insurances and in regards to refinancing. We do strongly encourage you guys to go ahead and contact them directly, because again, a lot of these situations will be individual. I'll put Brad's information in there again, but Brad will say their goal is to help you make the best decision and best choice for yourself. So refinancing may sound like a great idea, but it may or may not work best if you finance through CalVet. Same thing with the home insurance. It may or may not work to your benefit to have a CalVet home loan and the CalVet home insurance. They really want to talk to you individually about this. They are not looking to make commission. They actually don't make any commission at all. They're just there as kind of an information vehicle if you need it, or to go ahead and advance the process. So I will send his information in the chat again, so that you have that, because we did have a few come up. And then we also strongly encourage you guys to, if you look at our previously recorded webinars, we do have a few already recorded webinars with Brad on there on our website, and we may have more coming up. I can't remember, but there's his information in the chat for you guys. So let me scroll through and see what else I have. The other ones are still really personal, so I definitely would recommend you reaching out to either Kelly or your local county veteran service office.
Maybe I should mention times and locations really quick for this area. We're open Monday through Thursday, 8 to 4. We are by appointment only right now, but we do allow drop-offs of paperwork and picking up. Our 3 main locations are downtown Riverside, Hemet, and Indio. As soon as some of the sanctions get lifted for COVID, we do have 5 additional field operations as well that we handle, but right now those are shut down. So Indio, Hemet, and downtown Riverside, Monday through Thursday, 8 to 4, and call for an appointment. That would be great. And we can do appointments over we can do it over the phone or in person. It's up to the individual veteran or family member.
And so the last question I have that we're going to take before we sign off, again, if anyone still has questions, please contact one of us directly. But I think it's in regards to the CalVet fee waiver. It says what's California's fee waiver. So if you're speaking specifically of the tuition and fee waiver, the fee waiver does waive the cost of tuition and system-wide fees at the UC, the community college and state college level. And what the system-wide fee is, that's very important to note because each campus will typically have fees that are specifically associated with their campus. So for example, if a school is updating their student center, that fee is going to be very specific to that school and it will not be waived. You would have to pay for that fee out of pocket. Typically those fees are much smaller than your tuition fees, but that is the main thing that will be waived there.
That's correct. All right,
And
well,
I'll turn it over to you, Michael.
yeah, good. Thanks, Danny. Appreciate that. I'm going to reiterate it one more time. For those people that we did not get to, please reach out to us. We definitely want to answer your questions. We're just on a timetable right now, which is why we have to kind of move forward. But, thank you everybody for being here today. This is CalTAP's or CalVet's phone number and our email address. If you have general questions for us, feel free to reach out. Yeah, thanks for being here. See you at the next one. Appreciate all of the presenters for being here and appreciate everyone sticking around to the end. Have a good day.
If anyone would like to stay on for a few moments, I'm going to resend the veteran resource book and the link map just for you to download. So I will send those now and then I'll end the meeting after giving everyone a few minutes to download it.